See, people say, why did you not, now you will say, why did you not expose this at that time? See, certain things, so many things, now I know of 100 things. Now, whenever it occurs to my mind, I tell to people just like I'm telling you. I've told you about Kannan, I've told you about this judge who came from Calcutta to allow. I can give you so many examples.
Give me one more. Related to a Delhi court.
Delhi, I was Chief Justice only for 6 months here.
Do you see corruption here?
Well, I cannot say because I was here for a very short time, just 6 months, and then I was brought to the Supreme Court. So I cannot say, but I must say, broadly, Delhi judges are good judges, very hard-working. I was Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, and as Chief Justice, I had to do administrative work also. So I had to be in the High Court till 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. And after I got up at 7 or 8 o'clock, I thought, I inquired whether any High Court judge is still in his chamber. And I found many of them were sitting in chamber, and I used to go to them and say, brother, give me a cup of coffee. Very hard working. I used to tell them that, see, work hard, but don't overdo it, you'll spoil your health.
But on the Supreme Court, what about the corruption in the Supreme Court judges?
Well, I have no personal knowledge. It is, but definitely it has been there. There are, as I said, good judges also in the Supreme Court, but the contrary also. Shanti Bhushan has given a statement in the Supreme Court that half of the 16 previous Chief Justices of India were corrupt. That's what Shanti Bhushan said. So, if not direct corruption, at least surrendering to political pressure, these examples I have given you.
Well, whenever a new Chief Justice comes in, amongst the lawyers and the judge and journalists, there's always a buzz that, is he an honest one and is he a dishonest one? And the label comes instantly.
Listen, let me tell you one thing. Everybody knows who's the honest judge and who's the corrupt judge.
Right.
People are scared to speak out of fear of contempt of court, on which I have written an article in Times of India.
Now, I wanted to bring that up. I was, as you probably know, charged with contempt of court because I published an article which gave the opinion of senior lawyers of High Court judges on their integrity, knowledge of law, courtesy, punctuality, and and honesty. And I was issued a contempt of court case against me. Now, for muddying the picture, what was I told? I was guilty of contempt because it was a scurrilous attack on the integrity, honesty, and judicial competence and impartiality of judges. It is offensive and intimidating. By their conduct, as well as by making such scandalizing statements and invective remarks, have interfered and seriously shaken the system of administrative justice by bringing it down to disrespect and disrepute. It impairs confidence of the people in the court. Now, you have done the same thing as I did in 2001. You've also shaken the confidence of people. Could they file a contempt of court against you?
If somebody files, we'll see. But see, let me first explain to you the contempt law. Would you like me to tell you about it?
Absolutely. And I want to ask you that this is a British law which was copied into our constitution. And we are not allowed to question the judiciary at all. Whereas in America you can, and even in England you can now. The laws have been passed that which we can use as precedents, that we can question the judiciary. So in today's time, I think I would be well in my rights to have published that kind of article, and I could do it today without getting myself a case of contempt of court filed against me. Now you tell me, shouldn't the judiciary be adjusting to new realities, because so much of corruption in the judiciary has been exposed that they should allow their people should allow people like journalists and other lawyers to investigate their corruption and question their integrity.
Now, you will permit me to explain this a little in detail. Our law, contempt law, is based on the original British law. In England, the law has changed, but here it is still following the old.
This was to keep the natives under control.
That's right. Now, if you don't interrupt, I can explain.
I'll try.
All right. See, the old English law was based on the feudal principle. See, in feudal society, the king was supreme, the people were his subjects, and the subject could not criticize the master, that is the king. He was punished for criticizing the king. And judges were delegates of the king. Because, see, the judicial function is a sovereign function. It is a function of the king. And in earlier times, kings used to themselves decide cases. Mughal emperors used to themselves decide many cases. But because later on the king got so many other functions like administrative duties and financial functions and so on, he did not have time to himself decide cases. So he delegated this function to people who were known as judges. So they were the delegates of the king. And being delegates of the king, they had to have the same dignity, pomp, aura, which the king has to secure obedience. So to criticize the judge was like criticizing the king, and therefore it was punishable. All state authorities in feudal times were delegates of the king. In a democracy, on the other hand, this relationship is reversed. Earlier the king was supreme, people were subordinate. Now the people become supreme.
It should be.
Again, if you permit me...
You don't like the word should. I won't interrupt.
If you permit me, I will speak. If you don't permit me, I will not speak.
The 8 lafaz, I'm agreeing with you. I can agree with you.
No, don't interrupt.
Okay, I won't interrupt.
It disturbs the...
I'm so sorry. You're used to being a judge. That's the problem.
You see, when I'm saying something, it disturbs the whole chain of thoughts.
I will not disturb. You were saying...
I'm saying, in a democracy, the people are supreme. All state authorities are servants of the people. Whether you are President of India, Prime Minister of India, Chief Justice of India, Minister, judges, IAS officers, PCS officers, police officers, you are nothing but servants of the people, because people are supreme in a democracy. Therefore, since the people are the masters and judges are servants, can a master not ask his servant, why are you not doing your work properly? Earlier, people could not criticize judges because people were subject to the king and judges were delegates of the king. Now, since this relationship has been reversed, people are the masters. If you have a servant and he is not doing his work properly, can't you tell him that this you haven't done this work properly, and you can take him to task? So people have the right to criticize judges and take them to task, because people are the masters, judges are the servants. So it logically follows that people have the right to criticize judges. So therefore, the old we are still following the old feudal law that judges must have the pomp and aura and dignity which the king has. And if you attack that, then you are attacking the king, which is punishable. This situation is totally different. Very foundation is changed, very basis is changed, because people have become supreme. Therefore, in my opinion, now contempt law is only this, should be this, that if somebody does not allow the judge to function, then that alone can be contempt. If you criticize, suppose you enter my courtroom once, and you say, Justice Katju, you are a fool, and having said it, you walk out. You're not interfering with my function, because after that I will continue deciding cases. But if you come into my room, into my courtroom, and you keep shouting, fool, 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 and the whole day you keep shouting, I can't function. Or supposing you jump onto the dais and snatch my court file and run away with it, how can I decide the case without a file? Or supposing you threaten a witness, that is contempt. If you don't allow just to function, that otherwise, I used to say openly that you in all Supreme Court, Madras High Court, Allahabad High Court, that you can call me fool outside court, inside court, you can even call me a crook. I will never take contempt action, because either I am a crook, in which case I deserve it, or I am not a crook, in which case I will ignore it.
But shouldn't the law be changed then?
It should be changed. Of course it should be. That's what I'm saying, because the very fact that we are living in a democracy means that now judges cannot claim to have that aura and dignity and pomp which they had during feudal times. You see, there are two provisions in the Constitution which you must understand. One is Article 19, 1A of the Constitution, which gives freedom of speech to all citizens. The other provisions are Article 129 for the Supreme Court and 215 for the High Court, giving them powers of contempt of court. How are these two provisions to be reconciled? One gives freedom of speech, one blocks freedom of speech. In my opinion, the only way to reconcile it is to treat Article 19(1)(a) as the principal law, because that is the right of citizens, and citizens are supreme in a democracy. Whereas Article 129 and 215 are powers given to courts, and courts are servants of the people. You see, so the only way to reconcile is to treat Article 19(1)(a) to be primary, and Article 129 and 215 to be only of secondary importance. That is the only way you can, because you can't treat judges as equal to the people. People are supreme, judges are their servants. So, in other words, it means that judges should only take contempt action in very rare cases, and that also when somebody is not allowing you to function. See, after all, I have to justify my salary, I have to decide cases. If somebody enters my courtroom and keeps shouting the whole day inside the courtroom, I can't function. You shout once you call me for, all right, shout twice or thrice, but then go away, do your job. Leave me, let me decide cases. So if you call me a fool inside courtroom once or twice or thrice, I don't regard it as contempt. But if you keep on shouting the whole day and not allowing the judge to function, that is contempt.
Now, can you consider sort of circumstantial evidence? If you look at the, I don't know if you know the details, but the Union Carbide case and the kind of compensation that the victims got, when you look at the case, it looks like it's been fixed against the people of Bhopal. It looks like compromises were made, and Anderson was able to get away with it and not even bother to answer to an Indian court. By circumstantial evidence, it looks fixed from the highest level.
Frankly, I don't have deep knowledge about all that happened, so I cannot make any comment. But I coming back to this contempt law, I've written in my article that just Mr. Fali Nariman has called it a dog's law. Dog's law means that when your dog does something nasty, then you beat him. If he bites you or if he defecates in your room, you beat him. So similarly, in England, in the time of Bentham, the great legal thinker, he said English law is so vague and uncertain, it is dog's law. That means you don't know what the law is until you are punished by the court. So similarly, Fali Nariman said that this contempt law is so uncertain. Take two examples. One was in 1970 when Mr. Namboodiripad was Chief Minister of Kerala. He had said the Supreme Court is favouring the haves, is biased in favour of the rich. And he was punished for contempt in 1970. In 1988, a more worse allegation was made by a union minister, perhaps it was Mohan Kumar Mangalam or somebody, union cabinet minister. He gave a statement that Supreme Court judges sympathizes with zamindars and bank magnates, and it favors the haves against the have-nots, and all FERA violators and bride burners and all reactionaries have found a haven in the Supreme Court. All this was said. Contempt petition was filed in Duda's case in 1988, but no action was taken. And in fact, Mr. Nariman said that supposing the same statement which Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam or whoever was the minister had made against Supreme Court had been made by an ordinary man, would the Supreme Court have spared him? Or was he spared just because he was a union cabinet minister? And then where is the consistency? On the same charge, one judge alleging bias of Supreme Court, he is punished. Another judge alleging bias of the Supreme Court, he is allowed to go scot-free. So where is the consistency? It's all uncertain law. You mentioned about your own personal case. Now, again, if it had come before a judge like me, I would have said nothing doing, this is no contempt. You are not interfering with the course of justice. You are making, in a democracy, people have a right to make these statements, and Article 19(1)(a) is primary. Contempt power is only secondary. So I would have...
I'll tell you what we did, and you tell me what we think, or you think of it. We made a report card with all the Delhi High Court judges, and maybe you were there also, I don't know. And we put their picture, and then we...
I had read it in Allahabad.
Okay.
What was the name of that magazine?
Why India?
Yes, I
So
read
we gave a column that you gave this sheet to about 50 senior lawyers, and they filled out the forms, giving marks to each judge on integrity, knowledge of law, courtesy, punctuality, that kind of thing, and fairness, impartiality. What do you think of that? Do you think it's something that we should do?
I think in a democracy you had a right to do it. And
could we do it today?
Again, I'm telling you, there's dog's law prevailing even today. God knows what verdict will be given if the contempt of court petition is.
Would you advise us to do it?
Listen, I'm not your legal advisor, but let me give you an example, very interesting example. I was sitting in my chamber in the Madras High Court during lunch interval, when two judges, senior, who were sitting in a bench together, they came to my chamber and looking very upset. I said, what's the matter? They showed me a leaflet which had been distributed in the High Court, anonymous leaflet, and making various allegations against these judges who were known to be upright judges, and calling them fools and this and that. So when I read that leaflet, I started laughing. They said, they became very serious. They said, Chief Justice, we have been defamed in this way and you are laughing. I said, look here, you better learn how to ignore all this, otherwise you will get blood pressure. These are occupational hazards. In a democracy, so many things are said. If your conscience is clear, why are you bothered? Why do you take notice of this? See, I said, if you take action, supposing you take contempt action against somebody, this will aggravate the whole matter. And if you forget about it, by tomorrow it will be forgotten. So I said, these things are to be ignored.
So can I talk now?
Yes, certainly.
I've noticed that in your interviews recently, whenever somebody has said that you're a bungalow chaser, you laugh. When, again, and when they say that wo to doodh se dhula hua nahi hai, you laugh. And any accusations made about you personally, you just laugh.
So should I cry? What should I do?
You could cry also. You could do both. It's your choice.
Laugh, and the word laughs with you, cry, and you cry alone. There's a proverb. These are things to be ignored. If your conscience is clear, one should not bother. And I told those judges, and you know what happened? Then those judges also started laughing, and they tore up that leaflet and threw it into the waste paper basket.
Good for you. Now, did you tweet, a wise man must change with time and government?
No.
That's a false accusation?
False.
You did not tweet that?
No.
Okay. Now, people have asked you this question, and I ask you again. Is this story now, has it now come out because as they're accusing you, because you either want an extension as press council chairman or because you want another appointment with this present government? You have written against Narendra Modi in the past. Do you stand by that, or have you changed, as many people have, about their opinion on Narendra Modi, because he's played out to be evolved into a different kind of prime minister than most people expected?
See, I'll tell you, since he became Prime Minister, I have not heard him giving statements against Muslims or any community. So, since he has been elected by the majority of people, we should respect the verdict of the majority. And as long as he is not violating the constitution in the sense of doing anything against religious minorities, then see, so many things have been done in the past. In 1984, the Congress people, they got 6 massacred here. In Delhi, when some Sardar is going, he was caught by these mob and petrol was poured on him.
Not some Sardar, thousands.
Thousands. So now the point is now, see, since becoming Prime Minister, I have not heard Mr. Modi giving any statement against Muslims or any minority. So then, okay, you have been elected by the majority, and in a democracy we have to respect the verdict of the majority.
So your view of him has changed?
Because after becoming Prime Minister, he has, it seems, himself changed. All right, since people have elected him, we have to respect the verdict of the people in a democracy.
So you feel more positively towards him?
I feel that better towards him, because he has not done anything against any religious minorities. At least I have not heard any complaint after he became Prime Minister.
Do you think the way the Saharanpur riots have been covered?
See, let me tell you this. What happened in Saharanpur and Belgaum has deeply pained me, because this country has so much diversity that unless we are united, it will break up into 100 pieces. There's such tremendous diversity in this country. And what happened in Saharanpur, fight between Sikhs and Muslims, in Belgaum, Maharashtrians and Kannada. You know, we must all stand united. We are all Indians. And I can tell you one thing. I'm pretty sure these fights are incited by some agent provocateurs. Because my philosophy, and hear me carefully now, I'm a disciple of the great French philosopher Rousseau, who believed that people are good by nature. Unlike Thomas Hobbes, who believed that people are basically evil by nature. I don't know whether you've read political science. So I believe 99% of all people, whether Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, etc., of all castes, all languages, all regions, 99% people are good by nature.
Is that included in the 90% of stupid people before?
No.
Which 90% is
no,
that?
I'm not talking of intelligence, I'm talking of goodness and badness.
But 99% of people are good, 90% are stupid. That means that 90% of the 99% of good people are also stupid.
About 90%, I have apologized already, once.
Don't. Why? It's so much fun. Why do you apologize? It's a good thing.
No. I thought I was being a little too harsh.
So anyway, so 90% of the 96 good people, 90% are stupid.
See, let me complete you.
Okay, I won't interrupt. Okay. The problem is you're used to being a judge where nobody can interrupt you. Now you're in the real world. Get used to a conversation where there's give and take.
Arey bhai, suno.
Acha sun rahe.
99% people of all communities are good. But this 1% mischievous lot includes many agent provocateurs who maybe behind them are very powerful vested interests who want Indian people to fight with each other, so that we don't become a modern industrial power. See, our aim is to make India a modern industrial state, like West Europe or North America. That must be our goal. And
shouldn't our goal be that we should also be a more humane society?
Arey bhai,
industrial kar karke, where the violence that it's unleashing in terms of greed and patriarchy and all this, humane is more important.
Yes, absolutely. And if you listen to me, I was just coming to it.
Okay, carry on.
See, as I told you, the test of every system is whether a standard of living of the masses is rising in that system or not. So obviously, if the standard of living is rising, it is a humane system. But how can the standard of living rise? A lot of wealth has to be generated. For example, you may be needing tens of thousands of schools, and good schools, not just any kind of school, where there are good teachers. Now, even setting up one school costs a lot of money. One primary school, you have to get land, building, pay salary to staff, other officials, this, that, and you have to establish tens of thousands of schools. Where will all this money come from? Will it fall from the sky? No, it will come from a very large industry. Industry can generate that wealth, which can be used for the welfare of the masses. So
can we call that Gajumonics?
Therefore, we have to rapidly industrialize and make our country prosperous. And if we fight with each other, then we will not be able to do that. And it is the aim of certain powers, in fact, who want us to fight on basis of religion, caste, language, this, that. So people should see through this game and expose these agent provocateurs who I am sure are behind what happened in Saharanpur and in Belgaum. See, people are good by nature, but people can also be misguided. You may be very good, but you may not be very bright.
That we come back to what I started with. That you might be good, 99% are good, 90% are stupid, so there's a problem.
That is why people should become more intelligent. They are good, all right, 99%, but they should see through the game of these agent provocateurs who want us to fight with each other.
Now, can I ask you one thing? Do you think that transparency, where minutes of the meetings of the collegium became public, would ensure that no decisions are made under political pressure?
No, this collegium system itself has to be scrapped.
What would you prescribe?
I will tell you what I will prescribe. I've thought about it very correctly, but again, patiently you must hear me without interrupting. What I have suggested...
Oh, such a pressure you put on me.
I know.
Okay.
Bear the pressure.
Okay.
I would suggest a 7-member National Judicial Commission, in which 4 should be the 4 senior most judges, Chief Justice of India and 3 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. So that majority is of the judiciary. But 5th member should be Law Commission of India. 6th should be the leader of the opposition in Lok Sabha, or if there is no leader of opposition, then leader of the largest party or the nominee of that person. And 7th should be a distinguished jurist. So what I have suggested is 7-member judicial commission where government will have a say, but the dominant say will be of judiciary. And this 7-member judicial commission should first scrutinize all the names which they think may be eligible and form a consensus, and then they should call such persons in a televised meeting so that the whole country can see. And like in America,
Senate hearings.
Senate hearings that take place, and Senate asks them questions, including questions about their personal lives.
Absolutely.
So the person should face the committee, and committee should ask him questions about his judicial functioning, his views, political views, other views, and also his personal life. Let it be transparent. Let people, the whole of the country see. See, people, once you accept that people are supreme, it logically follows from that. I mentioned this in a debate in NDTV channel. Sonia Singh was anchoring, in which Mr. Soli Sorabji and Indira Jai Singh and Ashwini Kumar, the law minister in UPA government, and the president of the BJP legal cell, some Mr. Jain, they were there. And when I made this suggestion that there should be a televised hearing, these chaps were, they were all shocked. Oh, how can we have televised? They all opposed the idea. See, the whole thing is that
because it's frightening for the old school.
They're so conservative. They feel, people will come to know. Why not? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you have misbehaved 20 years back with a young lady, why should it not come out? Or if you have taken bribe 20 years ago, why should it not come out?
I think one thing, if I may,
yes.
I believe in life that if you have to hide something or if to lie about something, it's usually wrong. It's usually you're doing something wrong.
Huh?
So if you are frightened of transparency and frightened of a televised questioning of a potential judge, you're obviously afraid of anything wrong coming out.
But the point is, these chaps all opposed it. They all opposed, and I don't know.
So it exposes them.
See, I'm saying 7-member judicial commission, but they should call the candidate and put him questions, like in America. Why should that system not be accepted here?
It should be.
It should be, yeah, exactly. That's what I said. But see, I'm a voice in the wilderness.
Are you?
Yes,
Is the press council the wilderness?
No, not press. In my individual capacity, I make these statements, not as chairman press council. And then such a hue and cry. Why did you not make this exposure 10 years ago? This, that. See, furious attack is launched on me.
Okay, that you're used to, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Now, the one thing I would ask you now, not on this subject of these judges and corruption and all, wanted to ask you about, since you have 3 months left as press council chairman, in the coverage of riots and sensitive issues, say the Maharashtra Southern Major incident where this man is forcing chapati into a man's mouth, how would you advise journalists to cover these kinds of incidents? Meaning, how do you cover a riot? Do you mention the communities? How do you cover an incident like the Maharashtra Southern? How do you cover a Muslim who's been killed by 3 Hindus? Should their religions or caste or whatever creed be mentioned or not?
Yes, of course it should be mentioned.
All.
People should know. What else is democracy if you hide these things? And people, I must say to the credit of the Indian press that they are exposing it, and
but we used to follow a rule where communities were not mentioned.
Why not mention community? What's wrong in it?
But the fear is...
No, there's no fear.
The fear is that you would instigate the other community to take revenge.
No, it will not. People must know the truth. What is this? Ye chupa liya, wo chupa liya. This is some bad habit of some of you journalists. Sab expose karo. People are supreme in democracy. People have a right to know
So then give me the name of the corrupt judges if we have a right to know.
See,
you also hide.
No.
एक तो हमें lecture देते हो के journalists go and expose, give the names, and you, journalists go do your work. I won't tell you. That's a good out.
No, that's what I said.
We will not do our work. We're lazy journalists anyway. You tell us the names of these corrupt judges.
The question was put to me by many people.
And you have a standard answer. Journalists should also do their work.
Why should you not do work? You want to earn money and not do any work. आप अपना काम कीजिए, मालूम करिए, and it's not so easy to find. You people know. You're not fools.
We're not fools. Yeah. So we're not in the 90%.
No.
Thank you, Justice Katju.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for a lovely interview. Thank you.